Nebraska!
Nebraska wins its 5th national championship.
Giving you an inside look at everything going on in Husker Nation. This is the KLIN Husker Hour.
Kicks and deals the 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Jackson Brockett has the first 9-inning no-hitter for the Nebraska Cornhuskers since 1954, and he did it on his 12th strikeout.
Dunks it, got it! Underdog, and then one! Exclamation point! Pump the brakes!
Now your hosts, KLIN contributor Cole Stukenholtz and sports director Nate Rohr.
Good Saturday morning. Welcome to another edition of the KLIN Husker Hour. We've got everybody in studio this morning for the last show of the first half of 2025. I'm Cole Stukenholtz. That is Nate Rohr. We've got Kenny Larrabee helping us out, getting us on the StreamYard. If you're not watching the show and just listening, you can watch the show. You can see our bright and shining faces here on a Saturday morning on all the KLIN socials, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us on the Husker Hour Facebook page as well. Get hooked up to the link and see what we're doing here. We've got another position preview this morning, Nate. We're moving on to defensive line. We've got a player to talk to. We've got news on the Husker recruiting is really exploded here in June. The Directors Cup came out, but I think maybe the biggest news is in our business this week, where Nebraska has officially named the next voice of Husker football.
Yeah, that would be Kyle Crooks. He's coming up from Florida. It sounded like when he was on Jack Mitchell's show LNK today, Drive Time Lincoln. It was Tuesday. Kyle was packing up his apartment right then and there, and he may be on the move toward Lincoln at this very moment. But moving up from Gainesville, he's risen very quickly in the business, went to a small college in New Jersey and got into minor league baseball, and from there veered into the gig with the Florida Gators, and that's really been his springboard.
Yeah, and it's been interesting to listen to the interviews that he's done. He was on Sports Nightly with Jessica Cootie. He was on Jack's show, Drive Time. He was over on Husker Max with Caleb Henry, former co-host of this show here, and he's described his basically filling the hole in his resume where he hasn't been an actual sitting football play-by-play guy for these last few years. He has just sat in an empty booth, prepped for the games anyway, and called the games on tape, not knowing if anybody would ever actually listen to them, hire him based on that. And here he is. I mean, it is definitely a sign of hard work that a lot of Husker fans, I think, will probably look at initially to see, okay, where did he call football before? Oh, he hasn't. What the heck? And then if they hear that story, that I think that hard work is going to ingratiate into a lot of the fan base.
Yeah, I think that tells you that he had a pretty clear vision of how he would move into a gig. Maybe not necessarily in Nebraska. I'm sure he wasn't thinking about Nebraska when he started doing that 8 years ago. But a gig like this as the voice of a major D1 school, and give him credit for maximizing the job with Florida and not just doing pregame work and doing some of the lower sports on the depth chart, but also getting some football play-by-play reps, and that helped carry the day for him.
Yeah, and the perspective that he'll bring, I think, will be an interesting one. He was talking to Jack about how he, growing up in New Jersey, and it was the middle 2000s when Rutgers, remember that 2007 season, the season of just absolute madness when South Florida was second in the country at one point, Boston College was second in the country, and Rutgers ascended to number 2 in the country at one point with the Jeremy Ito game winner on a Thursday night against Louisville. And so he's got a little bit of that, the East Coast schools. I'm sure he's followed a lot about, like Maryland, Penn State, and then being down in the SEC. Right now, it is a Big Ten SEC world where those two conferences are just throwing barbs back and forth on the field, off the field, doesn't matter. So he's definitely been in that world for a while. And so to have that experience and to see how it's done down there juxtaposed against what he'll see this season going, through a Big Ten schedule and into Big Ten markets and towns and stadiums. That part of it is going to be interesting to follow as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of where he sees Nebraska football on that barometer compared to the Southeastern programs, particularly if Nebraska has a really good year and makes a run to the playoff, to where he can sit there and translate and say, okay, you guys were 10-2 against the Big Ten schedule, and a Big Ten schedule that I think we all know is a fairly favorable one. This is what you might be able to do on the national stage. And I mean, it's all a guess. We don't know, but he'll at least have some national perspective of how Nebraska stacks up, once the season starts unfolding.
Yeah. The other, as we kind of pivot from that, before we get into the D-line position preview, the other thing I wanted to hit on, Nebraska as an athletic department finished 21st in the Directors Cup this year, Nate, and that's their highest finish since 2010. It's been a while since Nebraska's had more of a top to bottom successful year like this. And so, not knowing whether that coincides with football coming back, obviously it probably helps, football scoring a few points.
Yes.
You have baseball make the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, the men's basketball team didn't get credit for the crown, but the women's basketball team made the tournament. Obviously, softball made a super regional, an extra round than baseball did.
Wrestling finishing second at nationals.
Yeah, second finish for wrestling. Track and field always does what they do. Gymnastics had a strong year. So to see that upward trend, obviously volleyball made it right to the doorstep again. That does speak a little bit to what Troy Dannon did. Trev Alberts has to be given credit to as well. He was here to lay some of that foundation, but does set you on a good trajectory heading into really, I mean, we're 3 days out from a very uncertain time in college athletics with revenue sharing coming.
And no doubt, you do feel like the tide is rising. The Sean Eichhorst years in this athletic department, never mind the football program, the athletic department, it was a nadir. It was everything was about as bad as it could be. And there was some repair work that Bill Moose did. There's some that he swung and missed on. I mean, I think we all expected more out of football under Bill Moose's athletic directorship, and that didn't happen. Trev Alberts came in, and I think he continued to raise the tide. And Troy Dannon has done nothing to hinder that as yet. There's still Troy is still getting settled in. He's still a year and a couple of months into his tenure as athletic director. But especially as quickly as things are changing in college athletics right now, it's important that an athletic director have the right gearing when it comes to revenue sharing, when it comes to how you pay your players, when it comes to how you build your roster, providing the right idea for the rest of the athletic department. This is how we're going to use revenue sharing, the collectives, everything like that to make our teams more competitive. So while this isn't, there is a big chunk of this that goes on Trev Alberts' ledger. Troy Dannon deserves plenty of credit for not hindering it in the short term. And now let's see what happens in the long term, because as time goes on, things become more and more his.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing when you look at that list, there's Big Ten teams in that top 25, but look at which ones they are. USC is second, UCLA is fifth, Oregon is 18th.
Yeah.
A lot of the Pac-12 pickups are carrying a lot of weight in that Director Cup anyway. Obviously, you have the Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Those are the other teams ahead of Nebraska. But just that we just had this conversation with baseball. Those teams are really helping the baseball profile for the conference. Yeah. Now look at what they're doing across all sports too.
Right. And understand that some of these Pac-12 former Pac-12 schools have some sports that Nebraska is never going to carry.
Yeah.
Nebraska will. I can say this to almost metaphysical certitude. Nebraska will never have a water polo team. USC has a water polo team. They have men's swimming. They have men's volleyball, although that tide might be changing, but we don't know. This is not an era in college athletics where it's likely that you're going to add programs. It's more of an era where you're going to cut programs, but those California schools and even Oregon, they bring strength in the Olympic sports just from a population standpoint, from the standpoint that they're on the water. Oregon has always emphasized track, so they're always going to put up a good fight there. And they're going to be good in the bat and ball sports too. I mean, UCLA is a perennial College World Series team. Oregon had a great year this year. UCLA made a run in the men's College World Series as well. So there's some material there that will boost the whole profile of Big Ten athletics. I just hope that the rest of the schools in these challenging times in college athletics take that challenge and don't just go, well, you know what, we're up here in the north and USC and UCLA are going to be good at softball and going to be good at baseball. We're not going to try. We're going to field a team if we have to, but we're not going to try. Hopefully the rest of the league takes the challenge.
Yeah, they certainly did in terms of recruiting. If you think back to when Urban Meyer came to Ohio State, that was kind of a tipping point for the conference where every coach, every athletic department just kind of reevaluated the job they were doing and saying, hey, look at this is something this is something that we have to do. Otherwise, the one sport that everybody wants to succeed in, we could fall way, way behind. So that was something that worked there. We'll see if athletic departments can do it athletic department wide, as Nebraska is certainly aiming to do. And like I said, have their highest finish since 2010. So good on everybody over there. All right. When we come back, Elijah Jeudy, Husker D lineman. He's going to join us. He's a senior this year. He's already been here for 3 seasons. One of the elder statesmen on that defense. We'll talk to him. We'll break down his offseason, what he's expecting this year, and what we can expect from the rest of that position group. And then after that, Nate and I will dig in. It's from an experience standpoint, it's not pretty at this position.
It's pretty skimpy.
A lot more meat on the bone here with this preview than quarterback was last week. So we will get to all of that. But first, Elijah Jeudy, right after this here on the KLIN Husker Hour.
Talking with current and former Huskers and those that cover the Big Red. This is the KLIN Husker Hour on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Summer position previews continue, and we are moving back to defense. We're going to check in on the defensive line today, and here to help us do that is senior D lineman Elijah Jeudy joining us here on the KLIN Husker Hour. Elijah, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we've asked everybody this question first. How's the off season gone? It's been the third time through with this staff, with this strength staff. You're used to the mat drills, the off season conditioning program. How are you feeling going into this 2025 season?
I'm feeling good. The off season has been hard. I don't think it's getting any easier, but I mean that's something that we need to be able to push through the season and be able to get to where we want to. So at this point, it's been hard, but we're working.
How have you gelled with the new defensive line coach, Terry Bratton? I mean, he comes up from the Chiefs. He obviously has a good resume, but now that you've had a whole winter to work with him, or at least the month of February to work with him, then spring ball, and now as you get used to him in the summer, how has that relationship built?
Me and Coach Braden, we have a really tight bond. That's my guy. We talk to each other every day. Every night we'll call a debrief about how like the day went, how's training going, and the guys that we think need to improve in the weight room wise. Same thing for me as well. If I need to improve anything, he'll let me know. So we have a great connection. I think during around before Matt drills, I was able to go to KC and be able to meet him in person, and we spend a lot of time together. Got to meet the family, he got to meet my family. So we bonded more on like a family level, so I think it's a different type of bond here than I've had, but past coaches.
Yeah, and I know a lot of Husker fans have been a little skittish about the D lineman change at the position coach, because Terrence Knighton did well here. The D line was a strength of the team. What are some of the things that Coach Braden brings to the table that you're excited about, and that Husker fans should be excited about?
I'm just excited about his energy, man. His energy. He has a lot of energy when it comes to practice. He's motivated, and he just wants to see it. He just wants to see all the guys succeed, and that's what we've been working on. He was trying to make sure that we're getting better every day and perfecting our technique. And yeah, it's gonna be a great season.
Yeah, Elijah, as you settle in, I mean, it's a season of change really for the defensive line when you think about new defensive line coach, such a good defensive line last year with Jamari Butler, Nash Hetmaker, and Ty Robinson getting most of the reps. You certainly played quite a bit, but those three were starting. How have you settled into a role that will ask you to do a little more, along with other guys like Cameron Lenhart, among others, who are going to be doing more on their own accord?
We just go about it every day. Like Riley, Cam, me, we just go about it every day. It's like, man, it's us now. We got to step up. There's no falling back on the guys that were here last year. So it's all on us. And I think we're taking that responsibility like really heavily. We're not taking it lightly at all. We're doing everything that we can to make sure that we are where we need to be come season time.
Senior defensive lineman Elijah Jeudy joining us here on Husker Hour, helping break down the D line, looking ahead to the 2025 season. With the departure of those three that Nate mentioned, Elijah, you are kind of the elder statesman out of that position group, right? You've been here for 3 years. You're a senior. Have you stepped into a little bit of a leadership role? And if so, how has that looked, and how have you adapted to it?
I have, like in the past, I wasn't really like a guy that would talk a lot. But now I think being as though I am a senior and I have like a lot of experience that I can share with the young guys, be able to get to bring them along board. I've had to step into that role, and especially when it comes to the workouts and stuff, having to push them. Same thing for practice, having to push them, help them with film and stuff, and keep the place up so that everyone where we need to be.
Building up sort of that family feel around the defensive line. I mean, as you've had to work, as you've settled in, what's the biggest lesson that you've tried to pass down to those younger guys that are settling into just starting to play, or feeling like they'll be a part of the rotation?
Yeah, definitely. I just try to tell them, like, just don't take this for granted. All this can go by fast. I've been in college for 5 years, and it felt like I just started last year. So, I mean, I've been trying to tell the guys, like, don't take it for granted. Every moment we get, try to give everything y'all, because this all can be taken in the blink of an eye. And another thing I've been trying to tell the guys is, like, everyone has different rules in life. God has different plans for everyone. So just because you're not playing right now doesn't mean you're not going to play it down the line. So right now, if you have to be a role player and do the best you can.
Elijah, based on your skill set and the things that you like to do when you play on that defensive line, would you rather be in on a goal line play where it's 4th and 1 and the other team's trying to score, or do you want to be in on like a 3rd and 9 where you maybe get to rush the passer, try to get around somebody and go get the quarterback?
I say both. I've had my fair shares of goal line stands, especially with Rutgers. We trying to that one goal line stand, we couldn't let them in. Same thing, short yardage stand when we played Ohio State. That 4th and 1, not letting them get in. It's pretty. Yeah. It's a great adrenaline rush. So I love it. Same thing as rushing the passer. 3rd and 9. I would love to get to the quarterback and get some sacks.
As you've worked along this summer, what was kind of the biggest to-do on your list? A skill you wanted to improve on, maybe a part of your game you wanted to hone, and how have you been able to take care of that to where you're in the best position you can be to help this team in the fall?
Definitely. The main thing that I've been wanting to work on, it's nothing. Well, it's very important to me is my game stamina. Because last year I played a certain amount of plays, not as much as the older guys, but now that I'm in that role and then I'm going to be playing a lot more than I'm used to, I just want to be able to get in shape and be my game body ready, game stamina ready, so that I can play as many plays as possible that the team needs me to play.
A few more minutes here with Elijah Jeudy here on Husker Hour, previewing the defensive line position for the 2025 season ahead. Elijah, with Ty and Nash and Jamari gone, there's going to be more of the other guys in that room contributing more often this season. Give us a little bit of an insight into some of the guys that you'll be on that defensive front with and what their strengths are, especially maybe some of the new guys like Williams Nwaneri, Gabe Moore, Jalen George, other guys in the depth chart that we'll see a lot of in the fall.
You're definitely going to see a lot of everybody. I think we have a great room. A lot of people are always saying, like, oh, we have a young room, but I don't think that means anything. Every person in the room, Gabe, Williams, Riley, Cam, Keona, everyone in that room, we're all working as hard as we can to be able to live up to exceed the standards that was set last year. So I feel like we're going to have a great season. I feel like the young guys, even when they play, it's not going to be a drop-off from the starters, the twos. It's not going to be a drop-off anywhere. So I think we're all going to be able to exceed the standards that was set.
You're talking about a lot of guys in that room. I know one thing that the prior regime was able to do very well with the defense was play a lot of guys to where even though you weren't a starter last year, and you mentioned you were on something, you weren't out there for every single snap, but you did get snaps last year. Is that something that you see persisting, even though you have a new defensive coordinator and a new D-line coach?
Wait, can you restate the question for me?
Yeah, absolutely. It felt to me like it was a real effort by the last coaching staff to rotate heavily on the defensive line. Do you think that's going to continue?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue, especially in the D-line room. Coach Braden definitely talked to us. He plans on playing everybody. If you can play, you're going to play, just to make sure everybody's fresh. And then make sure everybody's fresh. And then other teams, you're not going to know what's going to hit them. You got different rotations, different matchups for everybody.
With John Butler now taking the reins as DC and Tony White moving on, what has Coach Butler brought to the defense as a whole last year, just coaching the secondary? And what are his what do you like the most about how he coaches you guys on the D-line?
I just love the way because he'll come in, we'll have our unit meetings, and his main thing is he wants everyone to have football knowledge. So everyone in the field should know what everybody's doing at all times so that we can all play as one sound, one bid.
You were coached by a former NFL player the last couple of years in Terrence Knighton, and now both your position coach in Braden and also John Butler, your defensive coordinator, are NFL guys. How much not that we want to jump ahead of your senior year, but as you work in your last year of college football, I'm sure with an eye toward the next level, how much do you think that's going to help that you're working with both a position coach and a defensive coordinator who have come so recently from that next level?
Yeah, being as though they're from the NFL, their word means a lot to NFL scouts. John Butler, he was with the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
TB, he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. So, them putting that word in and being as though they have connects, it's a lot. It means a lot because, they just put in great words for me, and all I have to do is just show up for them.
All right, we'll get you out of here on this, Elijah. What are your goals for this season, whether it's a tangible statistic or just a style of play, and just for you individually and maybe for the defense as a whole too?
I haven't set like any like crazy individual goals right now. It's just like to stack my days. I've been just focusing on right now, focusing on the moment. I haven't really been focusing on the season right now because I'm just trying to get better right now so that when that time comes, then we'll worry about it. But as a defense, I just wanted to double what we did last year, do way better than what we did last year. You know, for me personally, I wanted to have a record-breaking season, so that's the goal.
All right. Well, we'll see how close you guys can come to that when the season kicks off August 28th in Kansas City against Cincinnati. It'll be here before we know it. Elijah Jeudy, Husker senior D lineman, joining us here on Husker Hour. We really appreciate the time. Thanks a lot, and we'll look forward to the season.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. There goes Elijah Jeudy, Husker D lineman, breaking things down for us. And yeah, Nate, it's a group that doesn't have a lot of experience, but they have a lot of options. And he said they're going to still rotate pretty heavily there.
Yeah, and that's exciting for me. I that they'll continue to send a lot of guys out there because I think that's good to build up your program so that when you lose three great defensive linemen like Robinson, Butler, and Hutmaker, you have guys like Elijah Jeudy who are ready. So it's a year of change for that unit, but you also feel like they'll be able to settle in fairly quickly.
Yeah. Well, we're going to come back and keep talking D-line. We're going to break down the departures, the returnees, some newcomers as well, and look ahead to how this group might impact the defense and the 2025 season overall. That's all coming up here on the KLIN Husker Hour.
Your Saturday morning source for everything Huskers is right here. You're listening to the KLIN Husker Hour on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
Big thanks to Elijah Jeudy, Husker senior D lineman, joining us here to help us break down D-line position. And if you missed any of that, make sure you subscribe to the podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music. You can also rewatch the live stream. We're on all the KLIN socials, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Husker Hour Facebook page as well. And now, Nate, we dig in to something a little bit more meaty than the quarterback position, with a lot of questions and inexperience along this defensive line.
Yeah, this is not the scenario where we say, okay, we know what we've got with the starter. We've seen the second string guy play a little, and let's talk about the possible second string guy midway through the year and the third string guy. Yeah. Now, there are big questions here. You feel like there's a chance they could step in and be good. it would be, I think, way too much to ask for them to equal what Hutmaker, Butler, and Robinson did last year. I think that's too much. But, like I mentioned in the earlier segment, at least they've played some.
Yeah.
And at least they've had some success. It felt like Elijah Jeudy came on last year. Lenhart had kind of a disappointing second year here, but his first year was pretty good. And then, Riley Van Poppel, we've not gotten huge doses of him, but when he's been out there, he's been really effective. And so there's reason to believe that they can come in here and play fairly well, or at least well enough. But it's fair to say that this is probably the biggest question mark, at least on the defense, if not the team, just because Nebraska was so reliant on that front last year to get things going, to create havoc. You think of that Colorado game, and it was all predicated on Shedeur Sanders not having a chance to get his feet set in the pocket. Well, I don't know if these guys can do that. I don't know if this group can create that level of havoc. Now, there's promise there too. I mean, we talked about the frontline guys, but you think of a guy like Williams Nwaneri. I mean, there's something there that Missouri couldn't unlock. And you're hopeful that being around his high school coach, Mosey, who's on the Nebraska coaching staff, will help. He's a high talent guy. There's something there that I think they can get out of him. Gabe Moore is kind of interesting. Just he didn't play at Mississippi State, but he's obviously good enough to be an SEC player. So there are pieces here, but you just don't know what you have.
Yeah, you talked a little about havoc, and obviously you don't need to generate all of the quarterback rush, pressure or sack statistics from this position. You can get some from the linebackers, which we'll talk about later this summer. You can even get some from a corner or safety blitzing. But in terms of defensive line sack numbers, can you tell me, Nate, out of the returnees, how many Nebraska sacks are on the D-line?
On the current D-line, I'll say 4.
That's pretty close. There are only 5.
Okay.
And 3.5 were from 2023.
Right. Lenhart
had 3, and then Riley Van Poppel had half a sack in 23.
Okay.
Mason Goldman had one last year in garbage time, and then Lenhart had half a sack as well last season.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Robinson had 7 on his own last year. And so you're losing a lot of production. So hopefully you get it from somewhere, maybe not the D line. Maybe you get more of an uplift on the sack numbers from the linebacker position, but there's Riley Van Poppel. I think if you're saying, who's the most important part of this thing, who's the guy that has to have the best season, I will go Riley Van Poppel in that, because if you look at the last 2 seasons under Matt Rule, and granted, both of these are Tony White defenses, and this year won't be, but in 2023, they were a better defense, I think, in part because Nash Hutmaker was wrecking shop every single game. And then 2024, he dealt a little bit with injury. His production was down. He was not as much of a force in the middle of that line.
Right.
And I think that contributed to them not being quite as good in 24 as they were in 2023. So if you can get a really good Riley Van Poppel season, he spent that year last year redshirting and building up his body. If he can be steady on the inside, I think that really helps the rest of the operation to the point where they can hold their own, at least at the D-line position.
And you feel like maybe not quite where Nash Hutmaker was last year is within reach for Riley, but you feel like it's in that neighborhood, don't you? I mean, he's been really good when they've had him out there. I mean, he put, like you mentioned, they redshirted him. They used him in 4 games last year, and they were really strategic in the 4 games where they used him. But you noticed him when he was out there. And so there's reason to believe he can come out and be the sort of nose tackle you need in this defense. I mean, three-man lines are predicated on your nose tackle eating up blockers. And like I said, I think he can do it. He's just not done it yet at the college level.
Yeah.
And can he do it on a 12-game schedule, and hopefully more than that, but 12 in the regular season? That's something Elijah Jeudy mentioned in our chat as well, that he's having to condition himself now to think, I'm going to play 50 snaps, 60 snaps, where before it was 30, 20. His workload's going to be much greater. Yeah. And what is he able to do with that? So it's a shift in mindset for those guys. Cameron Lenhart, we got to figure him out, because he had that really good freshman year in 23, and you're sitting there thinking, this guy might be something. And he kind of disappeared last year and really was not able to get much of anything going. So which one's the real one? Mm-hmm. And who is the real Cameron Lenhart? If it's closer to the 23, Nebraska's going to be fine. If it's closer to the 24, you've got some real questions. And we're talking a lot about the departures of the starters on the defensive line. Don't forget James Williams. He was such a havoc creator from the outside on passing downs. Who's going to do that next year? I mean, Kai Wallen's promising. He's a possible, but he'd have to take a step up to get where James Williams
he transferred out as well.
Oh, pardon me.
Yeah. Well, and actually, if you're watching the stream, we'll put up the list of departures here. So Ty Robinson, NFL, Nash Hutmaker, NFL. You mentioned that Jamari Butler in the interview. Jamari Butler's gone. He's transferred to LSU. Mm-hmm. And then James Williams followed Tony White over to Florida State.
Right.
And Kai Wallen is at Oregon State. Vincent Jackson to UConn. Brody Tagaloa, Sacramento State. AJ Rollins. I don't know that he ever got picked up. I couldn't find anything. And then obviously Terrence Knighton left as well.
Yeah.
James Williams had 5 sacks last year on his own.
Yeah.
That's how many the entire defensive line has in their Nebraska careers right now, Nate. So James Williams was kind of a luxury piece. Like, hey, you can bring him on a third down and he can just go get the quarterback. I don't know that anybody on this roster is going to be that guy, but you don't necessarily have to have it at the D-line position. It might be a Willis McGahee type role this season out of the linebacker spot, the jack spot. So those are the departures. But when you look at the guys that you have on the roster still, I think the starters, if you're going across the board, we've talked a lot about them. Obviously, Elijah Jeudy is going to be one of those leaders.
Yeah.
I think Riley Van Poppel's your guy in the middle, and then the other end will probably be Cam Lenhart, and hopefully, to your point, it's the 2023 version. Who outside of those three are you looking at to maybe emerge out of obscurity, or just when he gets his chances is contributing a lot more than we anticipate?
Well, never bet against talent, so Waneri's probably the guy. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about, I don't know if there's a third down rush guy here. It might be him. It might end up being him. And he's a 5-star guy, and where things just didn't seem to work out at Missouri, maybe he's had a chance to reassess how he goes about practice, how he goes about getting into the playbook and preparing himself. And we'll get the better version of him after a disappointing first year at Mizzou, because I think he's the guy with the greatest potential, but potential means you haven't done it yet. So it'll be interesting to see, the first third down that Cincinnati has against Nebraska on August 28th, who trots onto the field, because I would assume Waneri would be one of those guys. I'll be a little worried if he isn't. And hey, if it's the first one and then he comes out for the second one, okay. But if we don't see him some early, I'm going to get worried, because we've mentioned how wide open this thing is. You would think that transferring from one school to another, the light would turn on for him to where he says, okay, I gotta flip the switch here.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet. The other one that I'm going to make is going to be more production based. I will go with Jalen George. So out of the guys they got from the portal between Milt Williams-Waneri, Gabe Moore from Mississippi State, and then Jalen George coming from the lower level, East Tennessee State, but was first team Southern Conference last year, played 2 full seasons at that FCS level, had production. And so in terms of experience playing with the pads on in a game setting, he's got more of it than Williams Nwaneri and Gabe Moore do.
True.
Plus anybody else that Nebraska is bringing back behind those 3 presumed starters. So if you had to go with one, for me, I'm going to take Jalen George just based on the past production. And then do you have anybody on that line that if you had to pick? I mean, obviously I think we both like Van Poppel in the middle. But if you get one guy to kind of lead the way with this thing, who would it be for you? Who give you the best chance to have success on the D line this year?
Well, Van Poppel's kind of my guy, but I'll also lean on Lenhart a little bit here because you feel like he's more the pass rush oriented of the 2 outside guys. You feel like Jeudy's more the run stopper, but you need havoc created on opposing quarterbacks. And so it would seem Lenhart would get the first shot at doing that, and Nwaneri would get the second shot at doing that.
Yeah.
And so if Nebraska's able to put some heat on opposing quarterbacks, that'll make this defense a whole lot better. And so I think Lenhart's kind of the key here, because if this team can get off the field on third down, you get the ball back to Raiola in the offense, and you can move it a little bit. But if you're giving up third down after third down because the quarterback has 5 seconds to sit back there and find a receiver, it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah, I will say also, in terms of run stopping ability, Nash and Ty were really, really good at that. And so Elijah Jeudy's role in that shouldn't be overlooked. I know we're talking a lot about, and this is kind of the way of football, get to the quarterback. You got to stop the run against some of these teams. I mean, looking at Nebraska's toughest matchups, just from a talent standpoint, I think the 4 teams that stick out would be Michigan, USC, Penn State, Iowa. 3 of those schools are going to want to run the ball.
Yeah.
And so if you can't stop that initially, it doesn't matter if you can get to the quarterback, because Michigan won't need to run. They won't need to run any pass plays if they can just make production out of the run game every single time. Same with Penn State. Both of those running backs came back, Allen and Singleton. Iowa, that Ferentz is going to want to run the ball and just slow the game down.
Shorten it up. Yep.
That run stopping ability is going to be very, very key to Nebraska defense's success. And it starts on the D line. Last thing here, and in terms of a confidence scale with this position group on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you enter the 2025 season?
This is going to sound pretty harsh, but it's a 3. Just because they haven't done it yet at the college level. I don't, that's not to say that I don't think they can, but if you're asking me here in late June, how confident am I that they'll be able to succeed? I don't know. I just flat out don't know what they're going to be able to do. I think there are high potential guys there, but there are a lot of guys who haven't done it yet. And so until you do it, I don't have great confidence in you.
Yeah, it's funny. I also have them down for a 3, just in terms of the players they've got and what they've proven or what they haven't proven yet. That being said, with Matt Rule's track record, his emphasis on D-line play, I don't know that it's worth this much of an uptick, but he almost makes me want to go back up to like a 5 because I don't know that he will put this team in a position to fail because the D-line is bad.
Right.
So I'm giving Rule a little bit of benefit of the doubt based on his track record. Terry Braden is the wild card here, though, because if he can coach him up, I mean, he's been in the NFL.
Sure.
He's got the experience coaching guys like Chris Jones, Frank Clark, the guys who have won Super Bowls. If he can relate to college players, if he can unlock that Williams Nwaneri potential, that will be a big, big key for this defensive line as well, because obviously you lose a guy like Terrence Knighton, who by a lot of accounts was maybe the best position coach who was on the team.
Yeah.
So that part of it can't be overlooked either. It will be a very important position, but like we were saying, it's not one where they've got a lot to point to say, oh yeah, look at what they did last year or the year before.
Yeah, just a lot of potential, but they haven't done it yet.
A lot of unknown.
Yep, that's right.
That's the defensive line. We'll get to another position next week, probably hop back over to the offense. When we come back, recruiting. Nebraska has made it a big June. They are coming up with a lot of commitments. There may even be more to come here this month before it's all said and done. We'll run everything down that happened this past week right after this on the KLIN Husker Hour.
My name is Wendy.
Giving you an inside look at everything Huskers. This is the KLIN Husker Hour on 1499.3 KLIN.
It was always set up to be a big month of recruiting, but the way that Matt Rule and his staff have delivered this month, it's been impressive. They are now sitting, Nate, with 9 total commitments. They came into the month, if you take out the CJ Braun commitment, which he decommitted shortly into the month, they had 3. Mm-hmm. They now have 9, 6 commits in 18 days, and they're moving on up. The latest guy they got was yesterday. It's an Arizona State commit. They flipped. It's a wide receiver, Nayland Scott, 6'1", 200 pounds from the state of Georgia. And then 2 commitments Monday, running back Jamal Rule from Charlotte, and then a 4-star cornerback, Danny Odom from Orlando, 6'2" cornerback. So a lot of size there to work with. They're still targeting some big names from the camps that they had and the 7-on-7 tournament, but they're at least getting more quantity, which I know a lot of fans were maybe worried about for a while there.
Yeah, at this stage in the game, I don't know how high level the quality will be of the guys that are still out in the market. The Odom recruitment I thought was important because it essentially erases the CJ Braun decommit.
Yeah.
Because 4-star from Florida decommits, 4-star from Florida commits. And so you wonder, was there a shift in how the Nebraska coaching staff saw Braun? And the machinations that we'll never entirely know. Yeah. But at the very least, you lost a high talent guy and you bring in a high talent guy. And then, yes, they're bringing in some quantity in the guys that they've racked up in June. Nayland Scott, some services have him as a 4-star. Yeah. He's a 3 according to most of them, but some have him as a 4. So I think it's safe to say he's a high 3, low 4. But you feel like the staff was going to be conservative, high school wise, and then anymore how much of what you do is predicated on your high school recruiting. The chances are really good you might get another shot at them in 2 years. Yeah. So but you do need people on the roster, and especially where this is a young roster and has been a young roster the last few years. It feels like they're getting closer to where they ought to be here in 2020, the class of 2026.
Yeah, but wait, there's maybe more, because on Monday there is a 4-star offensive tackle from Chicago, Claude Mpuma. Is 6'7", 305 pounds. He's deciding between Nebraska and 4 other schools. I know one of the services put in a crystal ball or the prediction for Nebraska to get his commitment. That would be a big get, literally and figuratively, for Matt Rule and Donovan Raiola along the line. A true tackle prospect. He's only played football for a couple years, so he's very raw. The other developing story on the recruiting front, Nebraska's also trending to get 2027 Omaha Central safety Torrey Pittman, who is potentially a 5-star. He's that highly rated. He's according to one of the services in the top 30, and that's typically about how many 5-stars there are. So not only getting a 5-star, not only getting another piece in that defensive back group, but a guy just up the road, Nate, and in a market where Nebraska has missed on some guys, have gone to other Power 4 schools. To get a big get like that out of Omaha would be huge for this staff.
Yeah, it'd be a step in the right direction. It's been frustrating, might be the wrong word, but certainly concerning to see all the guys from Omaha committing elsewhere, because the one big talent market in our state, especially now, is Omaha. And if you're not able to shut the borders of Omaha, then you're fighting the uphill battle of telling a kid, hey, you come 3 states over and come with us. Whereas an Omaha kid, you're saying come 45 minutes down the road, and your family and your whole support system's here. And Nebraska historically has had a ton of success recruiting the city of Omaha. So, the fact that they're in on the 5-star safety out of Central, it reassures you that this year, because of the numbers of the roster and because of where things are, is closer to a 1-year blip than it is just an overall erosion of Nebraska's foothold at Omaha. Because the fact of the matter is, it's killed Nebraska men's basketball to not be able to recruit Omaha. The fact that they can't get a good kid out of Omaha to come down here, and yet you have people going to Wisconsin and Gonzaga and all over, Michigan State, losing Frankie Fiddler. That hurts. That hurts, and it hurts you twice, because everybody follows that kid and says that kid should be a Husker, and yet here he is, and very often they're ending up in the Big Ten, and so people are watching and following, and geez, he's putting up 10 points a game. Why isn't he doing it for you? And it hurts you twice, and that has held Nebraska men's basketball back forever. I don't want that to be the case for Nebraska football, and so I'm hopeful that they can reverse the trend in Omaha, because Omaha's already too much of a battleground. It should be, if you're an Omaha kid, you go to Nebraska, and unfortunately that's not the case right now.
Yeah, and obviously you can't take everybody as the number, the quantity of high caliber player, Power 4 level player. That number grows all the time, but Nebraska, if they want somebody, they really should be winning those battles more often than not. I would totally agree. And if you get this one, who is potentially a 5-star, and that would jumpstart the class of 27,
right?
That just has Trey Taylor right now. You get a 4-star quarterback and then a 5-star in-state guy on the other side of the football. It's a nice foundation to start from.
A couple of nice cornerstones.
Now you just need to win on the field.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to come back, wrap things up, get you ready for the weekend right after this here on the KLIN Husker Hour.
You're listening giving you a complete review of the Huskers news this week. This is the KLIN Husker Hour on Lincoln's Husker Radio, 1499.3 KLIN.
All right, let's wrap up, mate, by doing the thing we all love to do, and it's making fun of the NCAA.
Sure.
There was a report out this week that they reportedly spent over $1 billion with a B, $billion on attorney fees just this last year. And that includes paying their own attorneys and their opponents because they're losing most of these cases.
Yeah.
They actually spent more money in attorney fees, Nate, this year than Walmart, which is the most by any private company. And they're still losing. So great job, NCAA. Also, in a related story, trying to make more money, they're probably going to expand March Madness to 76 teams.
But interestingly, I've read that the TV partners aren't interested. So then why do it?
Well,
you're not going to. Well, but where's your money coming from?
Yeah.
You know, at some point, people aren't going to hop in their cars and drive 3 states over on 3 days' notice to go watch a round of 78 game.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's, this is sports' inevitable impulse to pave paradise to put up a parking lot. Like the geese only have so much gold in them.
Yeah.
And the play-in games are bad enough.
Yeah.
But think of like trying to put together a bracket pool, like it'll be the smallest print and it's the stuff that makes the NCAA tournament attractive.
Yeah.
It's a dumb idea, which means, of course, the NCAA is going to do it.
Yeah. They don't know what the law of diminishing returns is yet. And so I fear that expansion may happen. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully some folks with more power than them maybe talk them out of it. But that is something. And this is kind of related to NCAA. I don't know if you saw this, but Omaha, UNO, they are not opting into the revenue sharing, the house settlement. And they put out this detailed statement, part of which is there's a lot of uncertainty with NIL. Yeah. There's a lot of uncertainty with whether it's Title IX compliant. And also this was interesting. They're unsure about how the house settlement interacts with Nebraska state law. And they're trying to maybe avoid a potential lawsuit, be an unnamed litigant, which I don't know if that's going to affect Creighton or Nebraska down the road because they are opting into it. But Omaha, one of a few schools that is not. So
that's strange to me.
We'll see.
That's a revenue source that, they need.
Yeah, maybe they do next year or the year after, but at least for 25-26, they've announced that they will not. So interesting story right up the road. All right, well, that's going to do it for us here today. Thanks to Nate Rohr, Kenny Larrabee, and Elijah Jeudy for joining us as well. Also want to say rest in peace, Aunt Cece, and congratulations, my niece, Alexis, is getting married today. Alexis and John, best of luck to you two as you start your married journey today. That's going to do it. Thanks a lot. Go Big Red.